Welcome to CXM TV with me, David Dungay. Today we are at CCW here in the sunny Las Vegas. I'm with two lovely gentlemen. I've got Cody from AAA and Doug from Riptide. How are you doing, chaps?
Very good.
Great, glad to be here.
Fantastic. So today we're going to be talking about this very special relationship between you both. Some exciting agentic capabilities happening at AAA right now, courtesy of Riptide. But maybe, Doug, you maybe want to introduce this relationship. You know, what's happened here, and why this is kind of a special partnership.
Well, you know, I get asked often, like, why would you start with roadside? I mean, it's like got to be the most complex situation scenario that's out there. And roadside really fit our model quite well. The whole idea of roadside, way it's been done, is you're shouting at the member, telling them what's going on, but the member has questions, concerns, issues, and information that they want to be able to share. So what we brought to AAA with the idea of Riptide is, what if you could get every member their own AI customer advocate who is representing them in the organization, sharing with them their questions, concerns, issues, and gets them resolved.
Talk to me about the customer advocate or advocacy. You know, what does that mean? And Cody, I'll come to you afterwards, but you know, I want to know what that means to you as well. What does this actually mean? Explain what you're doing there.
Yeah, if you think about your normal AI interaction, you're talking to the AI and the AI is talking back to you. And if the AI doesn't know the answer, it gives up, or worse, hallucinates. And then you end up with an escalation. With AI advocacy, we've built an AI that when it doesn't know the answer, it knows who knows, and it asks a question. So it's actually generating questions to the other people in the organization, starting a multi-party dialogue with everybody who needs to be involved to get the issue resolved, all the way through the problem.
So Cody, I'm going to come to you now. You know, what do you hear when you go into a room with a vendor and you're talking about advocacy? You know, as a provider of 30,000 emergency contacts like every day, what does that mean to you?
First, I think, can they actually do it, right? A little defensive, but once we started seeing how it works and how we understood how it's not really handing off tasks, it's actually communicating from start to finish, right? As soon as they come in through the front door, if you will, they start talking to the advocate, and the advocate's always there, reaching out to the right person, not a switchboard operator necessarily, but more of constantly involved, knows who to talk to, and the right person with the answer, phone a friend, if you will, and can get them the resolution, and they're always there. If they have more questions later, Ripley's there, or the advocate's there.
Fantastic. So, Doug, we're in the room today talking to a lot of different people, and everyone is talking about agentic AI, but maybe solving the low-hanging fruit, these simple tasks at the bottom. You've done something completely different here. You've started at the other end, the really complex end, and roadside is one of the most complex environments you're going to see. Why did you start there?
Well, you know, there's AI out there already solving the easy stuff. And, you know, what everyone brings up all the time is, how are you going to solve the hard stuff? That's what's left for the humans to deal with. But how do you coordinate and orchestrate all the humans to resolve all those kind of hard stuff questions? I think I heard it yesterday. How do we create a reasonable department that the customer can go to go get an answer? And we've basically created the operating system with AI customer advocacy for the reasonable department.
Fantastic. So Cody, you know, this is a complex environment, as Doug has said. You know, why, from your perspective, is that risk? Why take that risk starting there?
We didn't actually see it as a risk. Once we saw the reliability and the capability of how it could kind of interconnect every part, actually it seemed more of a, let's try this. Seems fun, awesome, different approach, and let's see how it works in our environment, which can be sometimes simple but more complex than you realize. But that's the nice thing about an advocate, is that it can reach out to multiple parties, just like a human would, right?
One of the dominant stories I'm seeing in the industry is about ROI on agentic deployments. They're not paying back, and for a number of reasons, one of them being fragmented data. And roadside, of course, is a fragmented landscape. You've got data everywhere. How long did it really take you to, start seeing that payback and start getting that implementation going?
Pretty immediately, actually. Within 30 days, we had a working proof of concept in place. The nice thing about Ripley and being an advocate is you don't really need to have clean data, right? It really can take more conversational approaches and doesn't always necessarily care about the data. I'll have Doug talk a little bit more about that, but what we saw immediately was we started getting immediate containment, deflection. Remember we had a conversation with a director via chat that day, and we got, just in a couple of things they were seeing real time, we got a couple of things changed or tuned in the actual prompt and got 5 or 6% more containment that night. So it was very rapid that we were able to put this in place and continue to make it better.
Doug, take us through that sort of payback question. This is instant sort of stuff almost.
One of the biggest problems that's been described for rolling out AI is the data problem. Before you get started, you have to have clean data. You have to have everything organized. You have to have all your processes worked out. That is going to be a never solvable problem because the data you need to organize is always changing. A lot of the data is in the heads of the people, and some of it's scenario specific. Where is the technician? I got my my truck broke down. How long is it going to take me to get to you? So what we've solved with advocacy is that data problem. You're able now to roll out an AI that doesn't have to have all the data, because if it doesn't have the data, it knows who to ask to go get the answer. It doesn't have to be able to do all the tasks. It doesn't have to be able to operate with all your systems out of the box. It can go through and ask the person who is still responsible for doing that. Now, as you add more data, and one of the great things about the AAA implementation is that they're already built into Salesforce. So we're able to go through and create a system that interleaves very deeply into Salesforce, and every 15 seconds pulls in the same information that any agent would have. But for all that data that didn't exist in Salesforce, for all those tasks that you didn't want to automate right out of the box, Ripley could go to the human for doing that. But then as you add those tasks, then Ripley is able to contain more and more and have to advocate to other people less and less, and you continue to get more and more improvement.
So Doug, what's your take on that first month sort of result and that phased rollout approach?
Yeah, what's really smart about the way the AAA team did is that they started in a safe environment working with their own internal team. And when they began to go ahead and see positive results from that, then they decided to go ahead and extend it to the members. Now, what was exciting about this is that the results came back strong with the internal team. After turning it on for them for maybe the first week or two, they had a reason to go ahead and turn it off. And everybody started screaming, "Where's my Ripley? I want my Ripley advocate back," so they can go ahead and work with that. When we turned it on to the members, and we've consistently seen this in club after club, they received within the first week or two almost a 4% increase in customer satisfaction. Now this is across the entire network. So 4% may not sound a lot. When you're talking about 13 states, 14 million members, 30,000 roadside service transactions a day, to be able to get that kind of uplift and that kind of time is just unbelievable. I think it's never happened.
So, guys, if I could get you to encapsulate the success of this partnership into one number, that justifies this back to, Doug, to your investors, and Cody to the board and leadership, what number would you pick out that really sort of signifies the success of this project?
The leading number, I would say, is 3. So that's 3x concurrency. So if you think about one call to one person answering it, with chat-based and an advocate, you can actually do up to as many as you want, but we're at 3 concurrency. That's what we hit the sweet spot. And so they can handle 3 conversations at one time. And the lagging number would be the 400 basis points increase in keeping members involved in satisfaction.
And Doug, I'm going to come to you. What's your number?
We've created a new metric for advocacy. We call this the Advocacy Index. And what this is a measure of what percentage of the time do you not actually ever have human-to-human interaction? Because an advocate is always engaged, always advocating for that customer. And for Auto Club Group, it's been consistently 95%. So if you think about that, that means only in 5% of roadside service issues does the human actually say, you know what, Ripley, I need to go ahead and contact that member and have a conversation with them to go ahead and resolve your issue. 95% of the time, the advocate's either handling entirely on its own or is being able to go ahead and find the right person and resolve it without having that human. And when it advocates to somebody else, that's where you get that 3x concurrency. Those agents are now only operating at that.
Well, let's talk about that interaction for a moment then. Do your members like interacting with Ripley, mid-breakdown, or possibly, one of the most emotional times of someone's life is during a breakdown. What do they like, that interaction?
Absolutely. So one of the things we implemented was immediate acknowledgement, right? Yeah. So Ripley handles the notifications, or Riptide handles the notifications for us. So immediately they know somebody's on their way to rescue them, right? And then they're, they've calmed down, they're happy that someone's on the way, but then they start thinking of everything else. And then sometimes they even ask Ripley to tell them a joke. And Ripley tells them a joke and brings it right back into the service of it. And they loved it. So yeah, they do really like handling or talking with Ripley.
So Doug, to end today's conversation, let's give some advice to maybe some CX leaders out there watching. What's the one thing they need to get right? And then Cody, I'll ask you something after that as well.
We'll start with your motivation for implementing AI. Is it just about cost cutting? You're missing the biggest opportunity with AI. AI can transform your organization, can transform your relationship with your customer. And we all know that if you can increase customer satisfaction, that's literally the biggest driver towards profitability and market share. So seek those opportunities when you're looking to implement AI to improve the customer experience, not just cut costs.
And Cody, what's the one thing that maybe is a little bit overrated for those CX leaders to think about, during their AI journey?
Yeah, as I walk around and listen to all the keynotes, a lot of folks talk about how hard it is, how long it takes with cleaning the data, but you need to get started now. What we looked at it was with the advocacy approach, it was actually not as hard as that, right? You still need all your business partners and IT, and you really need to make sure that the workforce understands that it's there to help, not replace. But it didn't seem as hard, meaning we could go to market faster because of the way that Ripley and Riptide designed advocacy.
Fantastic. Doug, Cody, thank you so much for talking to me. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching me, David Dungay, on CXM.